All right, today we are popping the hood on recurrent neural networks. We're going to get our hands dirty, taking a real mechanics view to understand the engine that drives so much of modern AI, from language translation to predicting the stock market.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start by taking a close look at the absolute heart of the RNN, its recurrent cell. Then we'll trace how data actually flows through it when it processes a sequence. After that, we are going to stare directly into the face of the single biggest problem that plagues these networks during training. And finally, we'll see how these simple cells can be arranged into different blueprints to build some incredibly powerful systems.
Okay, first things first, what actually makes an RNN recurrent? What's the secret sauce? Well, it all boils down to this one elegant little mechanism at its core. So let's zoom in and put it under the microscope.
This equation right here, this is the engine of the whole operation. Seriously. But don't let the symbols intimidate you. It's basically just a recipe for updating memory. You take what you already know, that's your old memory, ht-1, you mix in the new piece of information you just got, that's xt, and boom, you get a new updated memory, ht. It's this constant feedback loop that gives the network its ability to remember.
And this right here is a massive shift in how we think about processing information. A standard neural network gets all its data at once, kind of like looking at a photograph. It sees the whole picture in an instant. But in RNN, it works sequentially, one piece at a time, just like how you would read this sentence. For an RNN, the order of the data is everything.
Now, this is where things get really clever. In a typical deep network, every single layer gets its own unique set of weights. An RNN, though, reuses the exact same set of weights at every single time step. We call this parameter sharing, and it's the key to making RNNs so incredibly efficient. It means the network can handle a sequence that's 10 words long or 1,000 words long, all without needing to add a single new parameter. That's a game changer.
Okay, so we've got our core building block, this little memory cell. Now let's see it in action. How does it actually chew through an entire sequence of data?
What you're looking at here is a process we call unrolling the network through time. It's a fantastic way to visualize what's actually happening. You can almost think of it as a really deep neural network where each time step is just another layer. But, and this is the most important part, every single one of those layers is an exact clone of the others, all using the very same shared weights we just talked about.
This is exactly how the network builds up context. That hidden state is like a conveyor belt for memory. It just keeps rolling along, carrying an evolving summary of everything it's seen so far. At each step, a new input hops on, the summary gets updated, and the belt moves to the next station. So the network's understanding at any given moment is based on both what it's seen right now and the entire past that led up to it.
So that's the forward pass. Data flows in, gets processed, context is built. But for a network to actually learn anything, the information has to flow in the other direction too. We need to send the error signals, the gradients, all the way back. Which, leads to the big question. How in the world do these shared weights learn the right thing to do if they're being used over and over?
Well, the answer has a pretty cool name: Backpropagation Through Time.
Now, don't let the name intimidate you. BPTT is just the backpropagation you already know, but applied to that unrolled network we just saw. You calculate the error at the very end of the sequence. Then you pass that error signal backwards through every single time step. And because the weights are shared, the gradient signal from every step gets added together to calculate one final collective update.
But here's where things get a little dicey. This journey backward in time is a perilous one for our gradient. Why? Because to travel back, that error signal has to be repeatedly multiplied by the same weight matrix, WH, over and over again. And as you might remember, repeated multiplication is a recipe for instability.
This leads to two of the most infamous problems in deep learning. If the values in that weight matrix are small, the gradient signal just shrinks and shrinks with each step back until it's effectively zero. We call that a vanishing gradient. But if the values are large, the opposite happens. The signal grows exponentially until it's a massive chaotic number that just wrecks the whole training process. That's an exploding gradient.
So what does this mean in practice? It means the network develops a really bad case of short-term memory. It literally forgets the beginning of a long sequence by the time it reaches the end, because the error signal from the end is just too weak to travel all the way back to the start and make a difference.
Okay, so yeah, the vanishing gradient problem is a huge deal. It's a real thorn in the side of these simple RNNs. But even with that major limitation, this basic RNN cell is like a Lego brick, an incredibly versatile building block. You can assemble it in a few key ways to solve all sorts of different problems. Let's check out the main architectural blueprints.
These are pretty much the three most common patterns you'll see out in the wild, and figuring out which one to use really just boils down to a simple question. What does your input look like, and what do you want your output to look like? Is it a sequence, a single item, or some combination of the two?
Let's start with many-to-one. The idea here is simple. You feed the network a whole sequence of inputs, word after word, for example, but you only care about one final answer at the very end. All those outputs it might generate along the way, we just toss them. We only want the final verdict.
Sentiment analysis is the perfect example of this. Think about it. To decide if a movie review is positive or negative, the model has to read the entire thing. A sentence like, "This movie was not very good," completely changes its meaning with that one word, "not." The model needs to see the whole sequence to get the full context and make that final call, negative.
Okay, now let's flip that on its head. This is one-to-many. Here, we give the network just one input to start, and then we ask it to generate a whole sequence of outputs. And the really cool trick is that after it produces its first output, it feeds that back into itself as the next input. It literally guides its own creation, step by step.
Image captioning is a fantastic example. The network sees an image just one time. That's the one input. Then it starts generating the caption, word by word. It might generate A, then it feeds A back in to generate dog, then feeds dog in to generate running, and so on. Each word it writes helps it decide on the next one.
And that brings us to our last major blueprint, many-to-many. You'll often hear this called a sequence-to-sequence model, or seek-to-seek for short. This is your go-to when your input is a sequence and your output is also a sequence, and they don't even have to be the same length.
The classic way to build this is with a duo of RNNs working as a team, an encoder and a decoder. First, the encoder RNN reads the entire input sentence. Its only job is to squish down the entire meaning of that sentence into a single vector of numbers. Sometimes we call this a thought vector. Then, it hands that vector over to its partner, the decoder, which unpacks that meaning and generates the new sentence, one word at a time. So as we've seen, the simple RNN is this incredibly powerful idea, but it's also deeply flawed. It gave networks memory, but that memory is fragile and has a really short attention span. And that leads to a fascinating question, doesn't it? What if a network could learn not just to remember, but also to selectively forget? That one idea is the key to the next evolution of recurrent networks, architectures like LSTMs, which were designed specifically to solve this very problem.